he's talking about. There's more footage. There's 140 hours that he has, and each episode was only maybe an hour, I think. There's 4 episodes, so there's at least 130 something more hours that he hasn't edited or produced.
For some reason, Diddy, around the time of his arrest, thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be exonerated later, so I'm going to film all this, and then I can use it in my big comeback later when I'm not in jail. Didn't work out the way he thought, and it turns out he went to jail for a few years. All right, he didn't get the full amount, but he still got a few years. And 50 Cent somehow managed to pay for the footage off of the videographer. Probably Diddy's worst nightmare, this. It's got to be up there. Now, we're going to get into what's in the actual documentary, and hell, it's something.
Anything that surprised you from that footage?
The footage, well, I mean, it was really interesting to see his last days of freedom, and what was sort of important to him. Obviously, there's phone calls with his attorneys, with his team. It was very interesting to watch a man who's known for his brand presence. He has a really amazing knack for marketing and all of that, and how he was sort of taking that into account and how he was coming off to the public, in the days leading up to his arrest and indictment.
Like 3 or 4 pictures in the documentary that I've seen of myself. Some people say they saw more, but I know three different times where I was certain places that you could actually see me in the documentary. And
when Netflix released Sean Combs' The Reckoning, many viewers immediately felt that something wasn't quite right. The topic was serious. The allegations were disturbing. The timeline painted a deeply unsettling picture. Yet, despite all of that, there was a quiet sense that something important had been left out. It wasn't the facts that seemed missing, but the moments. Not the accusations, but the reactions. The documentary felt carefully structured, tightly edited, and in some places, almost softened. That's when rumors of unreleased footage began spreading. According to insiders, the filmmakers had access to far more material than what audiences ultimately saw. Footage that didn't simply explain what happened, but revealed how Diddy responded as everything around him slowly began falling apart. This wasn't old archive material. It had reportedly been filmed only days before his 2024 arrest, when
Combs,
the pressure
better known as
surrounding
P.
him was
Diddy,
reaching
or
its
now
highest
inmate,
point.
his fall
What
from
made the
grace couldn't be
situation
starker.
even more intriguing
Began
was
back
who
in
stood
September
behind the project,
2024.
50 Cent, a longtime rival who has never hidden his opinions, and Gene Deal, a man who spent years working closely beside Diddy. That combination alone raised plenty of questions. But after legal threats followed the documentary's release, it became clear that something much deeper was unfolding. Netflix insists every piece of footage was obtained legally. Diddy's legal team argues that private material was taken without permission. Meanwhile, 50 Cent continues to suggest that much more remains hidden, and Gene Deal believes the documentary has only scratched the surface. So the real question becomes impossible to ignore. What exactly did Netflix choose to leave out, and why?
Reason, Diddy, around the time of his arrest, thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be exonerated later, so I'm going to film all this, and then I can use it in my big comeback later when I'm not in jail. Didn't work out the way he thought, and it turns out he went to jail for a few years. All right, he didn't get the full amount, but he still got a few years. And 50 Cent somehow managed to pay for the footage off of the videographer. Probably Diddy's worst nightmare, this. It's got to be up there. Now, we're going to get into what's in the actual documentary, and hell,
we need the core theme to be, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong on any front.
By the way, these conversations, the lawyer had no idea he was recording them. So when the lawyer's like, yeah, we need everyone to believe you did nothing wrong, it kind of takes away from when the lawyer is out in public saying, yeah, my client is completely innocent. And now he showed the behind the scenes where he clearly didn't think he was very innocent. So not Diddy's smartest move. However, throughout this journey, you'll see he makes a lot of crazy decisions.
I don't think it's working. I listened. I've been a superb client, as you said. I jumped on the plane. I'm coming to New York, but I'm just running around waiting for a shoe to drop.
He's shitting himself right now, in case you can't tell, and he really doesn't look good.
It's the middle of September, and there's still no indictment.
Then you have to have a spokesman. You have to have some sort of comms to constantly be pushing that, Mark. Because you may just be a person that you just may watch CNN. You know what I'm saying? And there's 9 billion people in the world. And 7 billion of them is on Instagram and TikTok.
He's basically trying to get control of the narrative. That's what he's really worried about. He wants public perception to be, this was all bullshit. Unfortunately for him, we'd all seen the CCTV of him beating the shit out of Cassie. So, like, we know you're not a good guy, man. That's out there. A statement from your solicitor is really not going to change that.
We have to find somebody that'll work with us, whether they from this country or from another country. It could be somebody that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business of media and propaganda.
We need to brainwash the motherfuckers right now, and we need people who are used to working with the dirtiest of dirty, because that's what he is, and he's admitting it. How could you let this footage fall into the hands of 50 Cent, my guy? And honestly, it always comes down to money with Diddy, because Diddy didn't get rich just because he was, clever in music. Diddy got rich because he robbed people all the time, and him not taking care of the people around him, it just comes back to bite him a million times over.
It's like we have a movie, you're speaking this language, and we need subtitles, and we're not providing the audience with subtitles. And I invited you to this movie, and you in this thing, you don't know what's going on. You just see you just see images, quickly. Now it has a whole life of its own.
I gotta say, this whole doc was edited well. When you just see the pictures and they cut to the CCTV. Well done, 50. You nailed that, son. If you're going to take him down in style. So you get a clear window from the jump here into Diddy's psyche. He doesn't give a about Cassie or any of these girls. He doesn't give a about anyone. It's save yourself mentality, and it's crisis mode. And you can see on his face, well, he's got a problem. This is at an all-time high of his taking, surely, because he is stressed.
The most widely discussed footage reportedly focuses on the final days before Diddy's September 2024 arrest. This wasn't someone unaware of the danger surrounding him. It was someone who clearly understood that the walls were closing in. Cameras allegedly followed him through private meetings, phone conversations, and personal moments that were never meant to become public. One clip that has drawn significant attention reportedly shows Diddy sitting in a hotel room, speaking with his lead attorney on speakerphone. His voice remains calm and measured, but the words carry undeniable weight. At one point, he admits they are losing, not struggling, not buying time, but losing. That single statement changed how many viewed the situation. Powerful people rarely speak with that kind of certainty unless they believe their options are rapidly disappearing. According to reports, the conversation quickly shifts from legal defense to reputation management. They discuss controlling the narrative, shaping public opinion, and reaching out to individuals experienced in the darker side of media influence. That is one reason Diddy's legal team reacted so aggressively. They argue these were confidential strategy discussions that were never intended for public release and insist the footage crossed a legal and ethical line. Netflix rejects that claim, and so does 50 Cent. What makes the footage especially unsettling is not only what is said, but when it was recorded. It took place before the arrest, before the handcuffs, and before the courtroom. It captures a rare moment of raw awareness, the realization that wealth, influence, and silence might no longer be enough. Once viewers learn that this footage reportedly exists, it becomes much harder to believe the documentary revealed the complete story. One of the biggest unanswered questions is how such material ever slipped out of Diddy's control. Reports claim he had been filming a personal documentary of his own, recording himself extensively. The goal was to preserve his version of events, possibly for a future release or as a way to protect his public image.
50, how'd you get it, and what does that scene show?
Well, I mean, you're a journalist, Harvey. Harvey, you would not disclose your sources.
We usually don't.
Yeah, but I got it. Yeah.
What he said.
and what do you think it conveys? Because we see someone trying to pull the strings and talking about, he would say affecting, others would say manipulating the public views of the allegations.
I think that, one big theme of the series is to go behind the scenes to really understand how brilliant you could say Sean Combs is at marketing, at owning his narrative, controlling the narrative at all times. And so why would that stop stop, when his life is on the line. So I think that, on its face, that's what it is. But as you get deeper in the film, you start to realize, perhaps how some of these tactics, how they really came to present themselves, during the trial.
You show that his abilities, his early rise.
Right.
Alexandra, you also give time to victims of the alleged abuse. Some of the cases are in different procedural postures. And you show victims who were women and men. Why is that important?
Because, victims of sexual assault, sexual violence, gender should not be a part of that conversation. When you are a victim, you are a victim. And I think that, this series was a platform in a way for these alleged victims to come forward, give their truth, put context to their situations when so much of it was ripped out, and we just the world was going for the salacious headlines, and they really had the time to tell their story.
Yeah, and the film takes us way behind the PR or propaganda machine. You see Diddy the day he's finding out about new suits against him while he's in New York preparing for a possible criminal.
Although it was never publicly acknowledged, Diddy's plan reportedly began falling apart behind the scenes. Contracts were left incomplete. Payments were delayed. Trust slowly disappeared. And once trust is broken, footage can quickly become leverage. According to multiple sources, the videographers, uncertain about their legal standing and frustrated by unresolved agreements, eventually decided to sell the material. That is where 50 Cent's production team is alleged to have entered the story. While 50 Cent has never confirmed exactly how the footage was obtained, he has also never denied knowing what exists. Instead, he continued to tease it through cryptic social media posts, dark humor, and subtle hints suggesting he had seen things the public had not. None of it appeared accidental. It looked like calculated pressure, psychological pressure. Throughout the controversy, Netflix maintained that every piece of footage was acquired legally. But legality doesn't erase the discomfort, especially when the material allegedly captures a powerful figure unraveling in real time. The moment that footage changed hands, the balance of power shifted. Control was no longer in Diddy's hands. The authority to shape the narrative belonged to someone else. Suddenly, a man who had once controlled every room he entered could no longer control the image the world would see. That loss of control is exactly what makes the unreleased footage so significant and so potentially dangerous.
50 didn't have the power to do anything, but they used his name to push the whole documentary. And that's what it was about. So that's why you don't see a cameo other than the pictures they used of me on the film in the documentary. I got 3 or 4 pictures in the documentary that I seen of myself. Some people say they saw more, but I know three different times where I was certain places that you could actually see me in the documentary, and that's the only thing you're going to get. But the stories that they told in the documentary, bruh, come on. They could have went a whole lot deeper. They could have did a whole lot more. So I ain't in the documentary because that lady that was the director, I think, what's her name? Alex, Alex State. You know her name, Mighty? Yo, Mighty, just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna look this up, all right? Okay. Her name is Alex Stapleton. The director that I spoke to was Alex Stapleton. She was the one who told me that she was the director, she was the producer, whatever, this, that, and the third, the whole 9 yards, and she was talking mad greasy to me. And listen here, it's no after you talk that kind of talk to me, it's no amount of money she could have paid me anyway for me to get in there. My story is more too valuable, getting in the depth or getting in depth with this whole stuff, and it would have helped that documentary a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? In actuality, they used all the stuff that I told them and did it the way that I was saying do it. Tim Dog started off with the childhood with Puff and the whole 9 yards. Kirk Burrows do the business part, but they was trying to put people in there like Mark Curry and other people to talk about the streets or what was going on, a certain thing. But Mark can only say so much, you know what I'm saying, because he was an artist. You know, so he wasn't with Puff like I was with him during that time when we was running back and forth here and there and the whole 9 yards. So, you know, Miss Alex Stapleton is the one reason why I'm not in the documentary, but it's all right with me. I've been in a lot of documentaries. I did The Shine, I did the A&E, I did the Discovery Channel, I did the Fox. You know, I've been in a whole lot of different documentaries, and I'm always on the Art of Dialogue. So the people been getting most of the information from here anyway.
Yeah, man, you always on here, man. Always got to bring you on. So with that being said, man, I want to get right into the documentary, man. How you feel about the documentary, man? The behind the scenes footage, they got a Diddy leading up to him getting arrested. How you feel about all that, man?
Well, what I feel about the documentary, they left a whole lot of key things out. If they was going to do something and they're going to say in the reckoning of Sean Combs, the reckoning, or Diddy, the reckoning and stuff like that, it should have been a lot of people that we lost because of him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't only Big, it wasn't only Tupac, you understand? For the atmosphere that he put those kids in, you got a guy named Anthony Wolf Jones, who was from Bad Boy, from its conception, is doing security and being one of the financiers of Puff having to have some money to keep Big and Craig Mack around before he got to Clyde Davis. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't able to tell that story because they didn't have no intel on that story or what went down, or they didn't do their investigation.
Gene Deal's involvement gave the story an entirely different level of credibility. As Diddy's former bodyguard, he has repeated one point time and time again, nothing around Diddy happened without cameras. According to Gene, recording was simply part of the routine. Meetings were filmed. Events were documented. Even moments that appeared private often weren't. It wasn't about preserving memories or ensuring safety. It was about maintaining control. Gene has suggested that Diddy viewed documentation as a form of protection. Proof of consent. Proof that people were present. Proof of influence and authority. But documentation has a downside. Once those recordings exist, they can easily outlive loyalty. When Gene Deal spoke about the unreleased footage, he didn't sound surprised or alarmed. Instead, he appeared calm, almost as if he had expected this moment to arrive all along.
Everybody want to say that 50 Cent did the whole documentary. He was responsible for doing the whole documentary, what goes in there, what goes out of there. And I don't believe that. And I don't believe that he's responsible for everything that goes in there. I don't believe he's responsible for everything that goes out of there. Guys want to say that he's snitching, you know what I'm saying, because he's telling his truth about what went down and what he saw or what he heard or whatever like that. I don't know how to love my enemy. And if I gotta put out the truth about something that he was doing and is wrong, and that was wrong, I don't have no problem with that shit. Not a problem at all. Keep doing it. Maybe enough men come out and speak out on some bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're saying that Diddy's family is preparing a $1 billion lawsuit over this documentary.
I think they dropped it already. I don't think they ain't gonna have a chance, because before you put something out like that, they're gonna dot their I's and cross their T's. They're gonna make sure everything is in place. And if Puff had friends over there at Netflix, if it haven't came down, if it haven't came down yet, they ain't got a leg to stand on.
Yeah, you just made me think of something. I'm sure Netflix has 1 million lawyers, and I'm sure they have plenty of lawyers go over this thing to make sure it was airtight.
Yes, sir.
And they might probably even cut some stuff out that maybe they weren't even sure about. Just probably. Well, Gene, I appreciate you taking the time. Dope content as always. And I wish you luck, man. I know I know, man, you get on these interviews and they go crazy, man.
Yeah, man, listen. A lot of people want to, come at me, and everybody want to find fault in 50, find fault in me, find fault in anybody who's speaking out against the evil that's been going on. But what about find fault from the person who did it? Find fault for the person who starved their artist. Find fault for the person who led an artist out there to lead to his death. Find fault in a person who set up the atmosphere for one of the greatest artists in hip hop to lose his life. You know what I'm saying? Find fault in a person that allegedly had a person sore in the middle of the night and they didn't want to be sore. Find fault in this individual who did all this crazy shit to people instead of find fault in the people who's talking about it and letting you know about it.
Why do you think people defend Diddy? That's crazy, right?
I used to really believe they really wanted to be in the Diddy party. So
Gene Deal went even further, suggesting that everything the public has seen so far has been carefully restrained and selectively presented, while far more footage exists that could completely reshape how people view the entire situation. That claim carries weight because Gene isn't speaking as an outsider looking in. He was part of Diddy's inner circle. He witnessed how everything operated behind the scenes. So when he says the cameras were almost always rolling, it changes the way the documentary is viewed. It suggests that Netflix wasn't uncovering hidden secrets for the first time. It was simply opening the door to a story that had been there all along. And behind that door may lie far more uncomfortable truths. Netflix
and conversations that blurred the line between personal
footage made it into the final documentary. That admission alone is significant because platforms rarely confirm used material unless it contains particularly sensitive content. Reports claim that hours of footage were left out, including emotional breakdowns, financial pressure, growing paranoia, reactions to lawsuits, and conversations that blurred the line between personal discussions and legal strategy. Netflix ultimately chose to include the material it believed could be defended in court, rather than everything that might have completed the full picture. That decision created a gap, and speculation quickly rushed in to fill it. Social media users, industry insiders, and former associates all began asking the same question: what didn't we see? 50 Cent intentionally fueled that curiosity, hinting that the footage Netflix left out still exists, that his team may still have access to it, and that the story is far from over. That is why the documentary feels incomplete, not because it lacks allegations, but because it lacks the raw moments when confidence fades, fear becomes visible, and carefully crafted images begin to fall apart. Netflix protected its legal position. 50 Cent preserved the mystery. Diddy's team tried to stop the story altogether. But once the possibility of unreleased footage entered the public conversation, even silence itself began to look suspicious.
I didn't see this, but apparently there's another 100 hours of Diddy footage on the cutting room floor?
So Diddy is still doing press. I mean, Diddy. 50.
Diddy is not doing press.
No,
he's doing press on the yard.
He's doing press, like he's doing push-ups. No, 50 is still doing press, and obviously with the success of the Reckoning documentary, he's talking about this more footage. Is 140 hours that he has, and each episode was only maybe an hour, I think. There's 4 episodes, so there's at least 130 something more hours that he hasn't edited or produced. And he's saying that he may put it out on YouTube, just to put it out there,
like on his 50 Cent Devo page.
I don't know if it'll be on his page, but he just said, he doesn't know if he's going to release it with Netflix or through Netflix. He might just, put it out on YouTube or wherever, some other platform. But the one thing that he said that was interesting is, he said, because you see people out here trying to, say, oh, the documentary can paint a narrative, this and the third. And his words were, if you see the rest of this footage, there will be no more, kind of like, oh, you know, you can paint this narrative. It's pretty clear cut. You know, the things that are being said in the documentary, the things that he still can't believe Puff, because he says that a lot. Like, he can't believe Puff actually recorded all of it.
Yeah. But I mean, so why does 50 not put that, if it's that damning and that crazy, why not put it in the doc?
I don't know why. I don't know why he didn't put it in the doc. Maybe, you know, the stories, maybe he had more people that he would need to interview and have sit down for the documentary to kind of go through those stories that are in there. It could be a number of reasons, but the fact that he has over 100 hours of footage of, you know, personal footage and things like that leading up to the case, because the story is Puff felt like he was going to win the case.
Yeah.
And that this was going to be footage for his documentary that he would have released.
The redemption.
After the trial was done and things like that. So, you know, the amount of things that he probably was recording, you know, just going off of the fact that he felt like they were going to win the case.
Yeah. And this is my footage and these guys aren't going to put it out.
Yeah.
Like, all the crazy we're going to take out.
Right.
But I mean, even I did see who I think was the director of what Diddy was trying to do had mentioned that he was on vacation or was out of town and had someone fill in for him. And that's the only footage that made it to the doc because that guy sold it. So maybe that director didn't pay the person to fill in, so he owned the footage and was able to give it away. But maybe all this other footage 50 doesn't have permission to put out. Like, okay, he could have it, but the director's like, no, this is my footage. Like, you got the other because I had my man's fill in for me for 3 days, and he has that footage now.
Right.
So maybe that could be it. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like 50 is so petty that if it was that crazy, he would have just put this in the doc. But who knows? I don't even want to speculate what is on the 100 hours.
Yeah.
After Lil Rod telling me what was going on, I don't know if I want to see it visually.
I mean, you know, and for 50 to say the footage that's on there is it leaves no more room for, you know, people to kind of say, oh, you know, the narratives are being created, it's false. For 50 to say that, I mean, you know, we can only imagine the footage that he's.
What makes the unreleased footage so potentially significant isn't just what it may reveal about Diddy, it's what it could suggest about the entertainment industry as a whole. If one influential figure documented so much of his private life, it naturally raises another question: how many others may have done the same? For years, cameras in elite circles were reportedly used for more than preserving memories. They became a form of currency. Recordings could build loyalty, encourage silence, and create fear. People often behaved differently when they knew cameras were always present, even if they didn't fully understand the reason behind the recordings. If the unreleased material truly contains private legal discussions, emotional breakdowns, and behind-the-scenes decision-making, then it becomes more than personal evidence. It offers a rare look at how power responds when it feels threatened, not through polished interviews or carefully written public statements, but through unfiltered moments captured behind closed doors. That is precisely why legal teams often react so strongly whenever footage like this becomes part of the public conversation.